Welcome to episode 16. Today we are so lucky to have Madison Luikens of Nourish and Namaste join us. Madison is a West Texas native who loves real food and good community. As a photographer, nutritional therapist, and hashtag girl boss behind the lifestyle brand Nourish and Namaste, most days you can find Madison in her kitchen cooking, eating, behind the lens of her camera, or spending time with her two fur babies and husband Zach in Austin, Texas. Madison hopes to uplift, educate, encourage, and inspire others to love themselves and find true community through real food nutrition, mindfulness practice, conversations that matter, and music that feeds the soul. Welcome, Madison. We are so excited to have you on today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. It's good to chat with you guys.
Yes. Okay. So first question we ask all of our guests is, what are you loving right now?
Oh man. Okay. So yesterday I went to this coffee pub house. I don't know if you've seen a lot of those or if they've been popping up in your area at all. It's like a coffee brewery situation. And I've been really digging some iced matcha lattes, and this particular place served it in a beer glass, and it just was awesome. And it was like with good ice, I don't know if you ever ate Sonic as a kid, but like the Sonic ice, it was so good.
Oh my gosh. I think I saw that picture on Instagram and it looked amazing.
It was so good. I wanted like a whole gallon of it.
That can be dangerous. Yeah, the Sonic ice, the Sonic ice was the best ice in the world when I was a kid. I mean, it probably still is, but
I had friends making or buying ice machines just to make their own ice like that at home. But
wow, that's committed.
Right. It is.
Are you into the matcha because you're not drinking so much caffeine, or do you drink coffee, or is it just kind of like enjoy a matcha every now and then?
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place when it comes to that. Caffeine and I are not the best of friends because it doesn't really help my anxiety all that much. I can have it on occasion. I kind of limit it to the weekends. I have to have it with like some really good, dairy or something like really good half and half or something to cut the caffeine a little bit. But I just love the taste of matcha to change it up too. But I also really love coffee. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just curious to see if there was a reason for cutting out the caffeine. Because a lot of people, I mean, they'll, be drinking coffee for so long and then they'll kind of start to notice symptoms like yours, making a little bit of the anxiety or kind of the just agitation type jittery movement, maybe stuff going on. And so they'll switch over to like the matcha just because it's more relaxed and chill and you still get a little bit of caffeine, but it tastes really good. We've got, have you tried the Vital Proteins matcha that they have, the powder?
No, I haven't. I've had their creamer, but not the matcha. I forgot that they created that.
You're gonna have to try it. I tried it the other day. It's really good. And then you mix it with the creamer that they make.
What? Okay. I'm gonna have to try this. I'm convinced. I have to find it.
It's super good. Super good.
Yeah. Thanks for the rec.
Yeah. All right, cool. So Madison, tell us a little bit more about your journey and kind of how you got into the Nutritional Therapy Association.
Sure. Well, I'm sure my story is similar to a lot of girls out there that find their way to nutrition one way or the other. But I kind of was in the whole, poor body image, bullying situation as a kid in elementary school, body shaming, that sort of thing. And so I had always kind of been hyper aware of certain aspects of myself that, somebody had pointed out to me for whatever reason, because maybe they were insecure of themselves. But that in turn, I internalized it. I was also an athlete in high school. And so I'm competitive and just wanting to, push myself, be the best that I can be. And so when college kind of hit, I kind of lost sight of myself as that athlete and kind of have always loved fitness as my pinnacle of stress relief and just feeling good in my body. I love movement. I later, as you will come to know, have become a CrossFit coach. I don't currently coach now, but that was part of my journey. But anyway, through that process, fast forwarding, I kind of started to discover health for myself. I wasn't feeling well. You know, when you go to college, you eat a diet of pasta and sandwiches and wraps and cereal and oatmeal, and you realize what all these healthy things are not actually healthy for you, and feeling terrible and no energy. And so doing my own research, listening to podcasts on nutrition, reading books, like It Starts With Food, just kind of, I dove in, and I dove hard, and I loved it. I wanted to know everything. And then I ended up becoming a certified CrossFit coach, because I just loved fitness, and my family at the time was kind of starting a gym. And so really felt like that whole environment was lifting me back up again. I was finding that, that direction and health, and feeling like myself again, my old athlete self. Right. And so during that time, I felt like, okay, maybe I should get kind of legitimized in this and get a certification. And so I found NTA through the Balanced Bites podcast, with Liz Wolfe and Diane Sanfilippo. I was like, I want to know what they know, and I couldn't afford the other, so I went with the other one. And it was also a time commitment and all that kind of stuff. And so I started the NTA, my journey, in 2014, and graduated June of 2015, which is crazy to think that that was 3 years ago. And since then, I've dabbled in one-on-one counseling, wasn't my jam, but now I kind of just really try to educate people and help them to understand what's going on in their bodies, to pay attention so that they might become advocates for their own health. And that's kind of where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm. So what has it been like for you as a graduate from the Nutritional Therapy Association? Because of course, as NTPs, a really big business model is doing like the one-on-one, clients. So how has it been for you doing more of like the education piece and just kind of getting into that and really like what's working for you?
Yeah. So nutrition is not my full-time gig. I'm also a photographer. So that has actually been my main, I guess, profession for the last 5 to 6, probably 7 years now. I lose track. And so I'm technically dabbling in both. This platform isn't full-time 100% yet, but I'm hoping to make that very soon. But as far as, not doing one-on-ones, I do more like seminars or talks. I ran a few challenges in years past. What I ideally wanted to do was create this PDF guide that was basically all of our education in easy to understand bite-sized pieces for people to then take this tool and learn and understand and hopefully apply it to their own lives. And kind of still working the kinks on that, but I know it'll eventually be there and go in a direction that I feel good about. But yeah, so a lot of it is just more so awareness and education right now as a resource, not so much as a business right at this second. Mm-hmm. Still kind of figuring out those avenues, but yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then the other thing that kind of popped in my mind, so you said the word awareness. Mm-hmm. So I also, just kind of being a girl, and you really started looking into like your own health because of like these body image issues and just kind of that downplay that you would talk to yourself about that. Mm-hmm. So just being, I guess, a girl, I know that you're really connected with yourself and like spiritually, emotionally, with your community and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. If you don't follow Madison, you really need to, because she's awesome and she will definitely inspire you. But just kind of like going back to that stuff for like a tiny second, because you said the word awareness and I was like, oh, I just want to talk about this for a minute. What was that? Like, how did you pull yourself out of that? I mean, I know you had CrossFit and you were working out and kind of that like exit. Mm-hmm. But I just kind of want to know a little bit more. So maybe someone out there listening can kind of just hear like your perspective and, things that worked for you and kind of where you've come from on your journey with that in regards to that.
Yeah. So, oh man, the body image struggle. It is a windy, twisty road that often is, 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's still something that I work on. A lot of it, I realized, was just my self-talk. Comparison obviously is huge and unnecessary, and social media makes it 10 times harder.
Mm-hmm.
If what's kind of sad and unfortunate is that I came to a good place with that, and then I kind of dispersed or displaced that insecurity into CrossFit. And so when I was in it, and it wasn't necessarily about like, what do I weigh or what pant size am I or whatever. It was like, how much can I lift? Am I the fastest? Am I the strongest? And so my competitive athlete again came into it, which was good, but then it turned into this form of insecurity. And I've kind of written some on this too, of realizing that I was hiding my insecurity and my competitiveness, and it wasn't a pretty thing to discover, but at the same time, it made a whole lot more sense for me in understanding my journey. And so part of that process is that when that became such a stronghold for me in my mental state, my anxiety took over, and what became a source of joy and freedom in my body then became again a pinnacle of tension and stress. And so I had to remove myself from it. So I actually quit coaching and working out and everything 2 years ago. So yeah, like 2016, almost 2 full years ago. It was in the summer. And it was one of the hardest decisions I had made, because it was family. It was something I loved. It was something that made me feel strong and confident and capable. I loved coaching people and helping them feel and realize that and recognize that in themselves. But yeah, it was just like, okay, I still have a lot more work I need to do on myself if I'm going to continue this path of trying to help people help themselves. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a never ending process.
Yeah, never ending is definitely one way to put it. But it all goes really back to, taking the time to really like check in with yourself and kind of like honor your needs and your desires and be kind of like the bigger person, quote unquote, air quotes, to be that person to really step back and take that time for yourself so that you can remove yourself from the stressors and remove yourself from that toxic talk that was going on because maybe the competition was just too involved,
Yeah.
And just being able to do that and really take that time for yourself. Because I think that's the hardest thing for people is they're really into their workouts or really involved in their gym or whatever it might be. And it's like, if it's, hurting them and it's just a really hard situation to kind of walk away from, it's about like knowing that you're more important and you're more valuable at the end of the day and really being able to step away from that for your health and for you.
Yeah.
And, for positivity. So it takes a lot to be that person.
Yeah. It's so interesting how something can be such a source of, it's a source of good, health and wellness, exercise and fitness and food are supposed to be positive things. And yet they can become manipulated in a way in which we cling to them or obsess over them. I've tracked macros, for example, too, and that was a whole nother rabbit in a whole nother situation that I learned so much about my body and the amount of intake I needed and how I actually wasn't eating enough and how I actually did better when I ate more carbs and how I actually don't digest fat all that well and like all these little things. But then again, that control and recognizing that and being like, okay, no, now you're getting crazy about this and this is becoming a source of stress. This isn't fun anymore. And this isn't benefiting me. This is creating more issues in my relationships and my friendships and my daily life. Like, we need to put this down and we need to step aside and walk away. And it's a hard decision when you feel like that's what everybody's doing or it's working for you or whatever it might be. But if it sacrifices your sanity, then is it worth it?
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
And how much did that save your sanity when you did that for yourself?
It took me a while, but I realized I didn't want to be a slave to that mindset, like that's not a way to live. I don't want to think about like how many ounces of something I ate or how many reps did I get or whatever it might be. or did I beat somebody in class today? Like one of the things that my husband would always like reality check me is be like, it's just exercise. Like, chill. Like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Like, this is so dumb. So yeah, it's kind of funny and you have to laugh at it sometimes.
Do you, Madison, do you know what your tendency is? The 4 tendencies?
Oh man, I think I'm an obliger.
Ooh, okay.
That's where like you're a people pleaser, right? And
Yeah.
like you don't uphold internal expectation. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. I'm such a people pleaser.
I'm an obliger too. So
yeah.
Me too.
Okay. Welcome.
A room full of obligers here.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I just wanted to ask too, because I was curious about if you maybe were an upholder because of the fact that you couldn't, that was hard for you to let go of working out. And for all of you out there who have never read The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin, download the Audible or go get the book now, because it's so valuable to understand the personality of yourself and of everyone in the entire world around you. It's really cool stuff. So definitely check it out. But that's funny. I just had to ask you that question.
Yeah. I love those kinds of tests, like any personality thing or even like astrology. I'm like, oh yes, what is it?
Right.
Yeah.
I actually took the Enneagram test today.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
I think that's what it is. And I was a 3. So like I thrive on competition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You and Madison both.
Yeah.
I took it in college, like kind of loosely, and I was either a 2 or a 4. And my professor said, okay, 2s can't figure out what they are, so you're a 2. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I need to retake it. I was told like, you're supposed to take it again, like when you're in your 30s, and I'm turning 30 this year. So it might be time.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday early.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I'm turning 30 this year too. So you and me both. Girl. 30,
yeah.
30.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'll have to take that one because I haven't done that test yet.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
Next step. So Casey, I know you had a question about Madison's amazing curls and how she does that.
Yes, Madison, in my Instagram stalking or just your feed coming up, you have like the most beautiful, like just perfect beach curls. And I just need to know your secret.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. You're so kind. It's so funny that you say this because like growing up, I was like the tomboy who begged my mom to cut my hair short because I didn't want to brush it because I thought the shorter it was, I didn't have to, and didn't really know my style or anything like that. And anyway, it's been a lot of trial and error. I do so many different things with my hair, cutting it, dyeing it, chopping it off, bangs, no bangs, the whole thing. But for the most recent adventure, I am a big fan of just air drying. Sometimes I'll dry it like to make sure I get my part right or something like that. But I air dry it, and then I use a wand or a chi straightener and I curl with that. And with my wand, you'll get like really tight curls, but they'll eventually fall and you can kind of brush them out. So I'll do my wand. I don't really do it all the way to the end, so it's not curly. It's kind of like more straight, I guess, towards the end.
Okay.
And then you brush it all out so it's not like perfectly tight ringlets. Okay. And then I spray with sea salt spray because it adds texture. And my hair is super fine, flat, like no volume. So I tease the heck out of it because if you're in Texas, you have big hair and you do that kind of thing. So.
Like you're from West Texas. That's religion there.
Yeah, exactly. So those are kind of what I do. Sometimes I'll do like a little hairspray just to kind of like hold it. But it's mostly like a wand curler and sea salt spray is my go-to.
What's the sea salt spray that you use?
I actually go back and forth just between whatever I have. There's one from like you can get it at Target and like I think grocery stores. It's called Not Your Mama's sea salt spray or something like that.
Okay.
And then you can make your own too. So like just salt water, and you can put essential oils in it and make it smell how you want. So it's just really like whatever I have.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if there was some secret brand out there I hadn't heard of yet. So I thought I had to ask.
No, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. I'm going to tag you and next time I try it.
Please do. I can't wait to see your beach babe waves.
But it was so funny. So Madison, there was like this one post that I remember, and I sound like totally creepy when I'm saying this, but just no, I'm not. I just remember this one post where you like had parted your hair down the middle, and it was like beautiful waves. So I was like, I'm going to try parting my hair down the middle, but I'm 36. And so I'm starting to get like some grays in there. And those bad boys, when I like parted it, they were sticking straight up. So I couldn't do it. Because I have too many grays sticking like straight up in the middle of my head. So it was a sad like realization that I'm in my mid-30s and have gray hairs.
Well, I am starting to get them too, so you're not alone. And I just dye it. So I'm like, it's blonde now, not by like trying to hide it, but I'm constantly changing it. So now it's a blonde. So you can't really tell us. But you should still go for it, and just, maybe if you get your hair colored, have your hairstylist do it for a middle part.
Yeah. I think that's
normally how they do it, is they paint it on or whatever based on the part.
That's funny. Welcome to 30.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is what I'm looking forward to.
Here we go, Megan. Here we go.
Yeah, right.
I feel like we're holding hands walking into the tunnel. No,
but you guys are so far ahead of the game that you already have your diets on point, and you know about the skincare you should be using.
Mm-hmm. Working on it.
Yeah. We're very blessed to be where we are. That's for sure.
Yes.
That is true. Yeah.
For sure. So Madison, tell us a little bit more about your photography and how you have incorporated that into your nutrition business and how all of that is coming together.
Sure. Yeah. So when I first left my like big girl job, like right out of college, I knew I still wanted to work with one-on-one with youth. I was an assistant youth director at a church for a while. And so I was like, I've always loved photography. I was actually apprenticing under our wedding photographer that we used for our wedding. And she was a good family friend of ours. And so I apprenticed under her for a couple of years and loved it, learned so much. Also learned I didn't want to do weddings because the stress and intensity of that you can't like fix. If you're like, oh, I missed that, can we redo this? And so I decided to do high school senior portraits and work one-on-one with high school senior girls. Again, coming back around to wanting to love and support girls who might be insecure of themselves, because that's similar to my story. I worked with a hair and makeup artist, and we had them come over and they get their hair and makeup done. Then we'd go around town, and it was a really cool experience. It was more than just like you email me and we go shoot and then you get your pictures. It was like a handheld process. And so I did that for like 5-6 years. And then when we moved to Austin, I was kind of ready for a transition. I was kind of phasing out of that. And, I had this connection that I kind of maintained. I met this awesome jewelry designer in person at like a trunk show like a year or two ago prior to this. And we kind of stayed in touch over Instagram, and she was really into wellness and yoga. And we just were like, man, she's a cool chick. I'm going to like kind of keep her in mind. And so I had actually reached out to her to design a jewelry necklace for Nourish Namasté with the ampersand. Because that's kind of like my symbol for, I want people to carry their mantra close to them. And I thought the ampersand was kind of a cool design for that. And so she was basically like, oh, I wish I could hire you. And I was like, okay, like, let's do it. So I started doing jewelry photography for her. Always during this time, I was photographing food, styling, and recipes for my blog. Understanding and learning how to do that is totally different than posing a person. So it was kind of a fun process to learn. So I still do the photography for the jewelry designer. I'm getting back into food photography, recipe stuff. But I've actually realized that there's a need to teach nutritionists how to photograph their food and market themselves so that people can know, like, hey, eating healthy is actually really good, and it looks good, and it tastes good. And yeah, that's the kind of where I'm moving into now with it, which has been kind of fun to bring those two worlds together.
So I'm sure you see all of us poorly taking pictures of our food. And yeah, right here. It's better since I got a new phone. But like, what would be your number one kind of pet peeve that you see with really bad food photos and a fix for it?
Okay. That's easy.
I figured it would be.
Using a flash on your food, like a flash photography. Just don't.
No. Okay.
Yeah, your best friend is natural light. So what's funny is when I really first started, I would take my plate and I would put it on what people thought was my wooden kitchen table. And they're like, how is your kitchen table so perfectly lit and everything looks normally colored and like looks so fresh? And what they didn't know was it was actually my glass front door open on the floor in front of my front door. And it was just the natural light coming in. And so you can do this by like a window or wherever, you know, even the shade of a porch or something like that. But natural light is your best friend when it comes to any photography, but especially food photography. So, and then white plates are always helpful. If you have like red, it just doesn't look good. So white plates are your best friend, at least starting out anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
What about
food photography pics?
Yeah, we're gonna clean up. We're gonna clean up our act a little bit after this.
I know, right?
Oh gosh, I need to see it in practice. No, you'll be amazed. Just hold your plate by a window and
Magic.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What about, I guess like any other little tips? Like, so I guess for like me here, my natural light, I mean, obviously going by the door, kind of stepping outside, but what about like backdrops and stuff like that? You know what I'm talking about, to make it kind of like cancel out all the other noise? What do you do for that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I'll just kind of like give you a little brief rundown. So there's 3 different angles that are best for food photography. It's directly overhead, like you're looking down at the table on your plate, directly over it. There's one where you're at level, like at table, you know, like if your eyes were at the table looking at it. So that's like really helpful for like a stack of pancakes or something like that, right? Like that's the best way to showcase that. And then there's what's called a 3/4 view. So you're kind of like looking down at it from an angle. You're not directly over, you're not directly at level with it. So depending on what angle you're wanting to shoot it at, you have to be aware of your surroundings in the background and things like that. And so when I was in the thick of photographing all of my recipes, I was actually photographing on my wooden desk, my computer desk in my house, doubled as my photography table. And I had a window coming, light coming in, natural light. And then what I actually did was when I wanted to shoot anything at level or 3/4, I had a rolling, what's the clothes hanger, like just from Target, cheap, like $7 or something like that. And I draped over with a like sheer white kind of tapestry or something like that. So it just softened the background and it hid anything in the background too. I've seen people just use poster board, like white poster board. I've done that too. And you can even photograph that underneath it as well. I've seen people take big old tiles from just like the hardware store, you know, like a big old marble tile. So you don't have to actually have marble countertops to photograph and make it look like it is, you know. I've seen people take, you know, and make their own too. You could take wood slats and paint them and distress them for whatever feel or look you're wanting to showcase with your food photography. So yeah, so the rolling cart thing helped to hide anything from behind. And then I just kept my backgrounds really clean, and it was a light gray, so nothing was really contrasty, because I really liked the light and bright and airy and wanted to showcase the food more than like the mood of it. Cause if you go darker, that's normally a more moody feeling. So yeah.
That's awesome. I just learned some stuff.
Yeah. Good.
I think I'm going to have to go buy a poster board or two.
Do it. Super cheap. And it's a great like reflector too. So if you feel like your light is not like, if it's too dark, then you can actually use it to bounce more light and balance it all out too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
My food photos are going to be so much better now.
I know.
I can't wait to see them.
My Instagram feed is about to step up.
Watch out.
So funny.
So Madison, you mentioned a couple of times about your recipes and your blog and that kind of stuff. So tell us more about some of the recipes that you've created. Were they kind of all over the board, or did you have a specific theme with them?
Yeah, so obviously keeping in mind our nutritional therapy training, I wanted to keep everything whole, real food. Pretty much everything was gluten-free or dairy-free besides butter. I did a lot of my favorites. I love Mexican food, so there's a lot of those features on there. There's a lot of like fresh salad bowl type situations, even just basic stuff of like how I eat in a normal day, like how to spot a protein, a carb, and a fat, and what that looks like on your plate, and kind of just showcasing a very simple picture of that. I even did one that was so fun. It was a Nada Moo ice cream kombucha float. So it was like a vanilla coconut milk ice cream with like a rhubarb strawberry kombucha float. And it was so freaking good. I was like, oh, I just knocked this out of the park. It was so fun. But yeah, so I love everything. I'm not the best baker. Like that's just like a whole nother level of science that I don't really understand. And especially when it's like non-gluten, flours, and it's like a whole nother level. So I just really love to cook up clean, simple meals. I like to create healthier versions of favorites, and I really love spice and flavor and color, and yeah.
I love it.
Yum. I know.
Yeah, I want that kombucha float.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll send you guys the picture of what I used and everything. I think it was Nada Moo ice cream and live soda, rhubarb or rhubarberry or something like that. It was awesome.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I would get in trouble if I was making stuff like that, because then I'd be like, ooh, I found something that's delicious and I want it all the time now.
Yeah. Yeah. The only problem with that, like photographing recipes, is like we would be eating our dinner and it would be cold, because I'd be like, wait, I got to photograph it. Hold on.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I have to kind of figure out maybe I should just do it for my lunch or something instead.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right. So I know that I wanted to ask you one last thing here. So since it is the month of May and it is the month for mental health awareness, you posted a blog today about mental health. And so I know we've been kind of talking all over the board today, but I think that this is a kind of a beautiful way to wrap it up, especially for the month of May. And you just posted this today, so it's very appropriate. Can you talk a little bit more about this awesome post that you posted for like mental health? And these pictures on here are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, these are super cool.
Oh, thanks. I have an awesome photographer to credit to that, as Lily Duncan. She's out of Fort Worth. She's so sweet and such a genuine soul. She actually was featured in my Wellness Women series that I need to feature both of you on. I know we've talked about it because she's also in the health realm, and it's just crazy how we met. But anyway, thank you so much for your kind words in response to that post. Yeah, mental health has been something that's been on my heart because it's something that we don't really talk about much. And I know it's becoming more prominent in conversation. I feel like, especially as health and wellness professionals, we have to talk about it because it's part of the whole body. But for some reason, I feel like there is still very much of a stigma around women in mental health, and not like really allowing the space to really talk about that, or even admit to that you might be struggling with those things. And a couple of years ago, I realized that I had severe anxiety. I actually first had my like first panic attack, anxiety attack in college, and I didn't know what it was until going through nutritional therapy actually, and understanding what the body was doing. And I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so over the course of the last few years, I've gone through a lot of personal development and changes and hardship, and have struggled with anxiety, and it's surfaced, and it's gone, you know, in directions that I didn't expect. And now it's something that I have to kind of constantly check in with myself and assess and understand. And I've had moments of depression where I'm like, why am I just in this funk? And I'm genuinely a very happy person. Like my mom has always told me I'm a ray of sunshine, and like, oh, you're just in the funk, snap out of it, like all this stuff. And, you know, so I was never really allowed to feel sad because I was always the happy girl. And so I felt like something was wrong, and processing that has been still a development for me in just the last like year. But yeah, so this post that I wrote was just more so of, you know, I've been kind of tired of social media and the perfectionism that we see in it. And I'm a photographer. I love beautiful images, but even the beautiful images can cause people to compare themselves to not being enough, or to not thinking that their life is running perfectly because so-and-so's looks like it is, and all that stuff. And I just wanted to touch base and reach out and remind people that like, hey, like I'm still a human, and I actually really struggle with these serious things. And yeah, just to be open and honest, and be like, hey, yeah, I'm in this too, and it sucks, and you're not alone. And, you know, just to wade through it and trust that we'll come out on the other side. And yeah, it's been a huge learning process of myself, and learning to say no to things, and learning to protect my energy, and to voice up too, you know, when that's not, you know, things aren't feeling right, or my gut's telling me something else, and trusting that. It's been a process. But it comes and goes, and some days I'll be posting on social media and I'm like all happy and glowy and fun. And then other days I'm like, I want to crawl in a hole, you know? So I just wanted to remind people that it's not always what you see. And yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome. Yeah, I know. I think one of my like favorite parts when I was reading it was you said something about like, it's not all butterflies and rainbows, and it's okay to have those days where like life isn't perfect.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And, you know, that's the one thing that is really bumming about social media is I think sometimes it can really portray this image of like, oh, why is everyone else's life so perfect? And I'm over here dealing with all of these issues and struggles. And it's like, everybody's got their issues and their struggles. And I think that, you know, posts like this and girls like you who are really empowering other women and men and just anyone in general to kind of speak their voice and not be scared to acknowledge those emotions. Like that's definitely what the world needs, because we've gotten to a place where it's just like social media is literally taking over people's lives, whether it's kids, you know, obsessing about like their, you know, celebrities and all these people that they follow and trying to be like someone else, or, you know, being down on themselves because they don't look a certain way, or like, why do I have issues and nobody else has these issues in their life? And it's not like that. Everybody's got their own issues. It's just social media does not put them out there. So
it's been really interesting. And I don't know if y'all feel this way too, but I feel like it's such a fine line of balance of trying to put yourself out there as a business person, and then also not getting caught up in the comparison, and then also like realizing, okay, hey, like this isn't the world right here, you know. It's very easy to get caught up in that tunnel. And I admit I've had to unfollow like CrossFit people, personal friends, nutritionists, people of inspiration that I once looked up to. But as soon as I started to like compare myself or, look at something and think like, oh, that makes me feel less than, then that's not something I should be keeping in my atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to be mindful now of that as I'm moving forward in business, because I want to quit all of this a lot of the time, like at least once a month. I'm like, what am I doing this for? But I realize I'm just being like crazy because I'm just a little overwhelmed and need to go sit in nature. But,
Yeah.
It's just something to really be mindful usage, I think is so important. And it's scary. Yeah. How you can see how it's affecting kids, especially. I mean, it's crazy just going from when I was photographing high school seniors when I very first started to the younger ones, and how they can't hold a conversation and look you in the eye because they're so attached to their phone. It's very interesting.
Well, yeah, you go to a restaurant nowadays, just look around. The only way that people are keeping their kids busy while they're eating is they have an iPad in their hand or an iPhone or something. And it's just like, what the heck? Like, where did this come from?
Yeah. It's heartbreaking to kind of witness,
Totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Their little minds are just being stimulated with video games and whatever else they're digging their way into. So on the interwebs.
Yeah.
So my mom read an article where I don't know where this came from or anything, that goldfish actually have a longer attention span than humans do now.
What?
Because of our phones and everything. So I have no idea like where this article was or anything. She just mentioned it in passing and I was like, oh wow, like it kind of makes sense because we are just so attached and constantly scrolling.
Constantly, stimulated. Yeah. Have you ever had those moments where like you're looking or you pick up your phone to check something and it's not Instagram or whatever it is, like you're like, I need to check, my calculator. I don't know what it is, but you need to do something. And then you get on there and you like natural reaction go to that social media page or whatever it is that you're like constantly drawn to. And then you find yourself in the rabbit hole and you're like, wait, what was I actually on here for?
Yeah.
And then you forget and then you have to, oh my gosh.
20 minutes later after picking up your phone too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, what have I been looking at for 20 minutes? Like, I know I was doing something else.
Yeah. It's kind of scary. But again, going back to that awareness, like we talked about in the beginning of just checking yourself and recognizing that and the mindful usage around it. I'm kind of trying to just dabble and play with like, okay, how much energy do I actually want to put forth with this? Because at the end of the day, it's something that we don't own. As business owners, we don't own our social media platform. We only own the content that we create on our site. And we don't technically even own our website to some degree, but you know what I mean? Like at the end of, if you're pouring so much energy into this platform and it be wiped away, would you have your people to reach out to, where is it going? And so it's been something I've been thinking on a lot too, is like, okay, I need to disperse my energy and not put all my eggs in one basket either.
Oh, that's such a good point. Because what if, Facebook just disappeared tomorrow? I know I have people that I only talk to through Messenger or same with Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so true.
I love how you just made that point, because there's a lot of people that put so much time and energy into their Instagram or Facebook accounts. And exactly kind of what you just said, like, where's all your content? Like, people spend hours upon hours creating, thoughtful posts that they're putting out there on social media, but it's like they post it and it's on their feed. It's going to stay there. Whether they're talking about adrenal fatigue or, anxiety or depression or whatever it might be, the awesome salad that they had from some cool place that they just discovered. But that could all be gone in a second. And then what are you left with? So that is something to really think about and let sink in.
Yeah. I was going to say something. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it'll come back to me. But no, that was good.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome.
Yeah. Well, Madison, where can people find you?
Yes. Well, when you are not trying to be absorbed by social media. You can find me on Nourish and Namaste, all one word, on Instagram and Facebook. I mostly spend my time on Instagram just because I'm a visual person, photography as it is. And then nourishandnamaste.com. There's dashes in between there. So nourish dash and dash namaste. I'm actually working on changing that back over without those, but it's a process. So that's where you can find my blog and my site. And I have a newsletter too. I do a monthly newsletter where I just kind of share maybe the Wellness Woman feature. I kind of share one post within there that I haven't shared really anywhere else. A free workout. I'm going to start adding those into the mix. And then just uplifting other people like you guys. And yeah. Also, I love creating music playlists. So I do that once a month on Spotify. I post that in my newsletter and online too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Music is my jam, my heart song. I love music. So I like to create those fun things too.
That's awesome.
So yeah, come say hi. Show me your photography skills.
Yes. Yeah.
And my perfect beach wave curl.
Yeah.
Everyone tag Madison when you go to do it.
Yeah. In real life, most of the time, it's just a really nappy, like 7-day unwashed top knot bun. So again, reality.
All goes back to the reality.
Yeah, it does. We need some more real talk, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then the one last thing that I just want to say here before we sign off was when we were off air before we started this whole conversation, we were just kind of talking about some business stuff and everything that's going on in life. And one thing that you said to me was follow the curiosity. And I loved that so much. And just with everything that we've been talking about today with all the different topics and just life in general, I just wanted to tell everyone that you need to just follow your curiosity and see where your heart takes you. And I just thought that was so cool when you said that to me, and it just stuck with me and I loved it. So thank you for your word.
I'm so glad it resonates with you. Yeah, it's something that I've learned to hold not so tightly, because you get so like stuck on this idea of what you should be doing or what you should look like or this identity that we should be containing ourselves in, and rather just like, no, I'm just following the next thing, following the curiosity. And so whatever lights you up, whatever brings you joy, do that.
I love it. Love it so much. Well, you're amazing, Madison. We had so much fun with you today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I love talking to you guys. It's been too long.
I know, right? This is fun. We'll have to do it again. We'll have to do another show sometime.
I would love that.
All right. Well, take care, everyone. Thanks for tuning in on this week's show.